Hello everyone, this is Direwolf20 and I'm in my Red Power 2 test world, ready to finally and happily announce that Red Power 2 pre-release 5 is now out for the public. LRM snuck it out there without telling me, so I had to get this video out real quick for you guys. The last video I did, I had 3 little hints to the fact that Red Power 2 pre-release 5 was being released in Minecraft version 1.2.5. I showed you guys this little contraption that I threw together real quick, and that was the first hint. The second one was in the description of the video, which said everything you see in this video will be released as part of Minecraft 1.2.5. And then finally the third hint was that Red Power 2 pre-release exclamation point 4F was the subject of the video, the title. And an exclamation point in programming is a not symbol, so that was a little hint to the fact that this was not going to be 4F. It was actually pre-release 5. Pre-release 5 adds a handful of items that I did not show in my last video. Most excitingly, frames and computers. Woot! Now, I don't want to hear anybody say, oh my god, copying Computercraft. Unfortunately, I have to give this little announcement for those of you who might not be aware, but LRM's computers is something she's been working on for a very, very long time. It's something that she put in her blog far, far before Computercraft came out. So LRM's computers, she had this idea way before Computercraft, so please do not start saying she's copying Computercraft because it's quite the opposite. In fact, I believe Dan200 has publicly stated that his inspiration for Computercraft came from LRM's blog post about her Red Power 2 computers. So the Red Power 2 computers are significantly different from what you might be familiar with in Computercraft, and I'll try and explain them as best I can, but they're far, far more complicated, but they're really cool. The frames are amazing, and I can't wait to show you guys that. And then there's a few more things to go over. The minor stuff is a couple different items, and then there's a couple new cool items. So let's get started. Alright, one of the first items I'm happy to show you is that we no longer have to handle this annoying little screwdriver. We've got something much cooler, the sonic screwdriver. That's right, LRM, copying the doctor, has made a sonic screwdriver which uses a bluetricity battery, a brass ingot, and an emerald. Cool. And you charge this guy up with your batteries, your blue trick batteries. Just hold them in your hotbar and right click them and that'll charge them up, and then you can use your sonic screwdriver just like a normal screwdriver, and it's just a powered up item. It's pretty cool. A next one up that's a little minor but really pretty cool. There is a new type of blue trick cabling which fits perfectly within Red Power. The same way that you would place a red alloy ingot in the center of a bunch of cover plates, you can do the same with a blue alloy ingot now, and you've got stone jacketed blue wire which can be run up and not attached to any blocks. Woot for that. Another minor item that you guys should be aware of, it has more uses in the future, but as you know, you can convert in vanilla Minecraft 4 pieces of string into wool, while LRM gives us the wool card, stick, wooden planks, and some fine iron wire, as you can see, and that allows you to convert your 4 pieces of wool back to string. Sweet. 2 minor changes to be aware of are that explosion resistance of microblocks has been increased, so your microblocks will not explode quite as easily as before, and then basalt has also had its explosion resistance increased. Basalt probably won't be destroyed by a normal creeper explosion, but it will be destroyed by a charged creeper explosion, so your basalt is a little bit stronger. Alright, now that we've gotten all those little details out of the way, let's go ahead and check out frames. I know you guys have been really excited for frames, and I'll be honest with you, I have too. Frames are awesome. I can't even begin to tell you how cool they are. And once you start thinking with frames, you'll be having a lot of fun. So why don't I get situated and get ready to show you how to work with frames. Okay, the 2 biggest components of frames are the support frame themselves. This guy's crafted with just some sticks around a brass ingot, and that gives you 1 support frame. Cool. And the next component is the frame motor. As you can see, somewhat expensive item. You need one of those blue electric motor. Remember I showed you guys last episode. The blue electric motor needs some copper coils, which need some fine copper wire and some diamond draw plates. So your frame motors are a little expensive, but not too bad. They do need to be connected up to blue trick power though. So let's go ahead and place down a frame motor. You can see this guy sitting in the world here, and I'll explain exactly how he works in just a moment. Okay, so like I said, you want to take your frame motor here and place it in the world. There you go. The face that we're most interested in is that little arrow there. And you can also see there's some blue lights back here that just turned on. That means it's receiving bluetricity. Awesome. Take your screwdriver and shift right click to change which face of the block has the arrow on it. The arrow is the place that you want to connect your frames to. So there you go. I'm going to place it facing upwards. Do not hold shift but right click to change the direction of the arrow. That's the direction that the frames will move. Okay? So there's your frame motor. Place your frame on top of the frame motor, like so. Make sure that it's on the face with the arrow that you want to move. And then it's as simple as applying a redstone signal to your frame motor. And the frame motor will push the frame in the direction of the arrow. That's all there is to it. Now frames can move themselves and other frames. Ta-da! Perfect. And it can also move things in other directions. So if I change the arrow to face that direction and apply the redstone signal, it'll move all the frames in that direction. But note you need another frame on top of the motor. Cool. Frames can also move any items that they're touching. So if we were to place a piece of cobblestone up here, for example, and then move this whole contraption, it would move the cobblestone along with it. Now the thing that makes these especially interesting and useful is the fact that it can move anything with tile entities as well. This includes chests that have items in it. It includes covers and wires and all kinds of other crazy stuff. So let's grab a couple items here and demonstrate. So now I've placed on top of my set of frames a project table, and I could put items in there if I wanted to. Let's maybe even make it a project table with a furnace recipe. Sure, why not? A block, a chest with a bunch of junk in it, and I even put an arcane boar from Thaumcraft on there. Let's go ahead and move our frames again. Note that some items get the little crate effect, and that's fine, it just means that they're moving. But you can see everything's still in place and working just fine. The arcane boar still has its focus in it, and the items in the chest are still there. And you can move these things pretty much however you want. Cool. And there's not really much of a limit on frames, except that you can only have up to 1,000 items and blocks moved at the same time, including the frames themselves. However, this is a configuration file setting. I'm not lying this time, it actually is. So you can increase or decrease it as much as you want, but the default is 1,000, which is, a lot. Now do note that if a block is connected to another block which can't move, let's place a frame down here. This frame will try and grab the piece of dirt under it and move it forward, but it's being blocked by this piece of dirt. What's going to happen when we apply our redstone signal? Not going to move. That's right. So this block here is causing the entire frame set to be stuck. So you have to make sure and be real careful not to let things get stuck like that. Now if you want to have this frame here, what you can do is place a red power 2 cover. Why don't I get a few of those guys and be right back. Simply place any kind of cover that you can on the face of the block that you want to basically disable. So if I don't want the frame here to be moving anything under it, then I can go ahead and place these blocks in place. And now let's try moving it. So I used a cover there. Perfect. And if we were to remove this block, for example, if this frame wasn't disabled, it would grab the cobblestone and move it over. But it is disabled by having the cover there, so it won't actually move. Cool. Very cool. And I'm going to go ahead and move this back as we're getting a little bit close there. All I got to do is keep applying a redstone signal. Oh, looks like we're stuck. Why is that? Well, because this frame here is connecting to the blue trick cable right here. Even though it doesn't look like it is, this blue trick cable is on this block, and it's going to get stuck. So if we get this frame off of here, we should be able to move it back again. So you have to be a little bit careful with your frames and note where they're connected to. Not too shabby though. Once you get the hang of it, it's really pretty easy. The other thing you're going to want to note is if you want to lay any red alloy wires or any logic circuits, for example a toggle latch, let's get a few of these guys, you can't place them directly on the frames. It's not going to work for you. So what you have to do is get some stone panels. Different from stone covers. Stone covers are the thinnest version, but stone panels are the second thinnest. Place that down on the frame, and then place your red alloy wire on top of it. And it should work just fine. There we go. That looks good to me. Let's go ahead and move our frame set now. Just need another piece of frame. Perfect. Everything works like a charm. Now you can, of course, place a deployer right here that deploys a frame every time the frame thing moves. That would be a smart way to keep this thing going automatically. And maybe by the end of this video, I'll have the chance to build a neat little frame machine to show you guys some of the possibilities with frames. But if I don't get to it in this video, I'll definitely do one in a future one. Now before I get to computers, which are very complicated, I'm going to go ahead and show you guys one of the last items that's part of this update, the assembler. Now the assembler right here is basically your Tech 2 deployer. As you can see, you need some bundled cables, a Tech 1 deployer, and some brass, iron, and some red doped wafers. But the assembler here is awesome. Place it down in the world, and it definitely looks like an upgraded version of the deployer. And you can see there's a spot in the back for some bundled cabling to go in. Let's get ourselves some. There we go, some bundled cable. And I'm going to set up a little system here to demonstrate how this guy works. But you want to make sure your bundled cable is on the back of your thingy. There you go. Assembler ready. Check out the interface on this guy. Now there's two modes to the assembler. The round robin type mode here, this little circular guy, and then the colored mode. I'll do the assembler first here like this. I'm going to place some stone in there, and I'm going to place some cobblestone, and then I'm going to place some dirt. And make sure that the bottom slot here, the inventory, has enough stone, cobblestone, and dirt. Okay, so there we go. Stone, cobblestone, and dirt. And what this does in this mode is it'll deploy the items in order that I place them in here every time it receives any kind of redstone signal. So just place a lever next to it to simulate our redstone signal and deploy. As you can see, the first item to come out was stone. And now the next one will be cobblestone, indicated by that little square box around it. And then the next one will be dirt. Cool. Awesome. Now what you could do is click in here to indicate empty spots. So let's do cobblestone blank and then stone and blank and see what happens. And make sure to have your cobblestone and stone in the bottom inventory slot there, or you'll have the problem I just did. There you go, it went through the blank. Now it's going to stone. And then it's going to go blank again. And then it's going to do cobblestone. And then blank. So you get the point. It'll basically follow the pattern, whatever you place in here, and just go around and around every time it receives any kind of redstone signal. But the next mode is even more exciting. So what I've done is hooked up some colors here to the bundled cable that's going into the back of the assembler. Of course, the bundled cable has a purpose, and what happens in colored mode here is you place your blocks in the colors that match up with the colors of the wire. And anytime a redstone signal goes in over that indicated color, it's going to deploy the block in that spot. So I've got light blue, orange, and white in here. So let's go ahead and do white as dirt. Anytime we release a white signal, it's going to deploy the dirt. And anytime we do the orange signal, it's going to do smooth stone. So what kind of cool things could we build with the assembler? Well, the most basic one, of course, would be a bone meal and sapling setup, where you could have bone meal and sapling within the same assembler, and just alternate between bone meal, sapling, bone meal, sapling, bone meal, sapling, and have a timer on it. Or you could have a neat little assembly of different blocks that go out on different signals. But imagine using an assembler on a frame. You could basically build an in-game 3D printer. You place an assembler on the end of a frame and have some bundled cable going into it, and control the signals of blue, orange, white, whatever other colors you apply, and you could really build a 3D printer using frames and assemblers. How cool would that be? I think it would be very cool. Alright guys, so I think that's a point that I'm going to wrap up on this Red Power 2 pre-release 5 spotlight. I haven't covered computers yet, but I'm going to come back and explain all the aspects of computers in just a bit in a separate video, because computers are so complicated, I definitely need a separate video to do that. So you guys have seen the assembler, you've seen frames, and a bunch of other cool nifty machines. Red Power 2 pre-release 5 is now live. You definitely want to go get it. It's so awesome, and frames are just a ton of fun. Once you start figuring out how to use them, it can be really complicated and really awesome machines that you can make out of them. So this is Direwolf20 signing off on the Red Power 2 pre-release 5 spotlight. I'll come back shortly in a new video all about computers. Alright, take it easy.